man, citizens across the verse very upset about what happened with the roadmap most recently. We're going to have Space Tomato tell us about it here, but I already know what's going on. And I got to say, this kind of, this got me a little bit upset.
Starting in Alpha 3.23, Star Citizen will essentially physicalize everything you can interact with. Unfortunately, that won't be happening initially. With the feature being pushed back to 3.23.x in the future,
Listen. This is why I don't get involved in roadmap shit these days. I get enraged. Everybody knows that the economy is one of the most important features to this game for me. It is literally the backbone to any good MMO, any good sandbox, any game that has an economy. You better bring it correct. So far, fetch quests, right? PvE mission grind. We're all accustomed to it. Eventually, what I love, what I want, is a true dynamic economy where people are making things in manufacturing nodes, that those have uses, that both NPC and human alike have a demand for it, that it reflects in the market. You know, this is what brings about really good gameplay. It is the backbone behind a game being successful or not, in my opinion.
one of the biggest features on the update will not be available when the patch first goes live.
Same here, dude.
And we'll talk about that today. But when this physicalization does happen, every gun, armor piece, medical tool, shipping supply, ship, and stuffed animal will require you to physically summon, retrieve, and move them in order to use them. There will be no magical bag of holding, and all commodities will require some level of manual labor, unless the space station does it for you. It's monumental. While we have not reached the final goal for Star Citizen's cargo system, with the newest updates to hangars, freight elevators, item banks, and the cargo refactor overall, this update sees the culmination of 3 years of updates dating back to the first true inventory in Alpha 3.15. But there's a lot to consider in this system, and cargo hauling as a whole in the game. So if you want to be a hauler, run some courier missions, or you're actually terrified about how much this could drag down your more casual, less cargo-focused experience, sit back and enjoy, because this is Cargo Hauling Explained. Thank you for coming to my Tomato Talk.
He does a great job on editing. You know, he really does.
This video was actually ready to go 7 days ago, but with sudden changes happening often with CIG, me and many of you watching this are probably not very surprised that at least something did get delayed. It does mean I need to remove the video that's already been released to supporters to re-edit, but it also means broken features won't ruin the initial 323 experience. Freight elevators, item banks, instanced hangars, and cargo missions have all been delayed to 323.x due to their continued instability and complexity, leading the team to hold off and solve more edge cases before launching. I appreciate this as something that needs to be done, especially for a patch like 323 where many players are returning and hoping for a more polished experience, and the fact that CIG seems to be trying to sell a more polished experience. But we've also known how complex these features are, as we've seen them delayed almost as much as salvaging at this point. So I wish these had just been stated as coming later than 323.0 initially anyways, but here we are. It must be done, but
here's the thing that I... Oh, snap! Macabre! Thank you, bro. Thank you.
Next time, it's gonna be black.
Thank you, Macabre. 10 sub gifts like a boss. Thank you, bro. Thank you. Appreciate you, man. Appreciate you. Listen, this is not written on stone tablets. The thing about the roadmap and the reason why Noob and I both stopped with the speculation on the roadmap shit is frustrating. It's infuriating. Just ask Noob. Just ask myself. Just ask content creators that cover roadmap. It's like banging your head up against the wall and thinking that you're going to get some level of enjoyment out of it. You don't. It's terrible. And everything gets pushed back all the time. But on the flip side of the coin, it's like everybody thinks that the roadmap is like Moses writing the 10 Commandments on stone tablets, and it is not. You know, so like I get why people are upset, myself included. And I know everybody wants to think I'm this white knight guy. I have nothing ever bad to say. It's bullshit. I've been doing this for 10 years. If you've been watching me, you know I've said plenty of bad shit. This is bad shit, because I think that the focus, and I've said this, I've pounded the table on this year, I want focus on the economy.
I'm warning you.
Thank you, Nikki. God bless you. God bless you. Macabre Nikki
time
coming
it's
in
gonna
with
be
some
black.
gifts. Good morning, Nikki.
Yes, sir. Can I get an amen? Yes.
Nikki and Kiera in here chilling out. I love that they're here. Thank you so much. So these are not commandments written in stone by Moses, like things will change, but it does upset me. And like Tomato saying that these features that are regarded in regards to the economy continue to get pushed back and pushed back and pushed back. Crickets when it comes to Tony Z. We haven't heard Tony Z in forever. I think they should do pillar talks again once every quarter, as if you were, somebody listening to a quarterly report from a company. You know what I'm saying? Like, they need to bring that back. They need to bring the heads back to talk about these types of issues so that we know where they're at in the scheme of things. Because the roadmap's okay. It gives me an idea of things, but we know everything's going to get pushed back to some point every time. Okay. And I get that they're trying to push out 3.23 in some type of state where, maybe people bitch about this less, right? But we all know the process. Those that have been playing this the longest of time know this process, right? When these new things come out, there's going to be issues and then they get worked on and, the grind continues forward even as slow as it is sometimes. I personally think that a lot has been released on this patch. I still think, wow, this is a really good patch in terms of the content that's coming to it. But in regards to the economy, it is so important that they bring in features that make this more than A to B fetch quests and PvE mission grinds, right? Like, I want there to be meaning to what it is that we're selling. I want the actual lore that feeds in from manufacturers that make these goods to actually mean even more because people are making them through manufacturing nodes and that the quantities are legit, that supply and demand is legit, that it's feeding through in a correct manner to where the economy is more than 99% of other games out there, right? So every time I see these types of things pushed to the back burner, or perhaps there's so many issues with what's going on in regards to meshing and in regards to communications, the layers, and that's why they're waiting on everything in regards to a more solid economy, perhaps that's an issue. I just don't like the fact that it seems to me on the surface, the way that they're presenting it to me, that the economy doesn't mean anything. You guys get what I'm saying? Because that's how it feels when I see this stuff. Okay, I'm done bitching.
But it's a big hit to the initial update. That being said, the update is still very satisfying when the servers aren't crashing. We'll talk about that in a few days.
Stunner didn't hear me correctly. Stunner said, I disagree completely. There's so much in 3.23 that is coming, and this is only be pushed back to a 3.23 patch. We will be testing it in weeks. Stunner, you didn't hear me, dude. I said I'm happy with everything coming in 3.23, bro. Like, Stunner, there's so much coming in. Did you not hear that part, Stunner? Just so you know, like, I'm super happy that, like, we're getting what we're getting with 3.23. I said it's going to be a ton of content coming. The one thing I'm upset about is the fact that it seems to me on the surface the economy keeps getting pushed. Okay, cool, dude. I just want to be clear for others that maybe have taken your stance. I just want you guys to understand. Very happy with this coming down. Tons of content coming. I love that. But, like, in terms of the economy, because I'm a big economy player. I come from EVE Online. I love the economy in EVE Online, or I did. Don't get me started on that one. But I am a hardcore economic game player. I love it. I'm like an armchair warrior with an Excel spreadsheet. That's the type of guy I am when I'm playing that mode. Like, I love finding profit. I love finding ways to make the most profit in a game. I love being part of a group of people that do the same thing. I love trading. I love charts. Like, I'm all into that type of gameplay. Like, I'm all in. You know, that's why when Galactic Logistics was created by my friend Ravier, I was so happy when he created Galog. I was like, this is genius. This needs to be fed into the game somehow. You know, if you guys not familiar with that, go check him out. Awesome dude. Great site for trading. But I want the trading to actually mean more, you know?
CIG also still has time before their half one of 2024 deadline for this comes.
Oh, that's
and
awesome,
what aims
Macabre.
to be
That's
delivered
awesome.
in this cargo hauling experience is still true. So let's jump into how cargo hauling is going to actually be changing in Star Citizen, hopefully in the next couple of months. Currently, the only way Star Citizen players can feel like true cargo haulers is putting their own money down on commodities that exist in a rather boring static economy, without crafting or base building. No missions, no contract.
Yeah, I think that's a major issue on why we're not seeing anything economic related, because they're waiting on that. I did say that earlier. Aether said, I actually disagree with you also. I think the fact that they aren't adding the quanta stuff now is just because economy matters more. SIG aren't going to make that change until all the foundations are established. I did say that, Aether. So we are in agreement with that. I think that's why we're seeing it, but I still want it to be presented that way. I want the leadership to come out to talk about this openly, and I want Tony Z. Call me crazy, call me entitled. But like, I want the team that's involved with the economy to come out and to kind of say, okay, this is where we're at. This is what we're waiting on, period. And like Futz, right? Futz is a semi-driver in real life, trading commodities all over the place. He wants to do it in the game, and I totally feel you, bro. And, you know, like, we can do, like, the point A to B stuff, but, like, we want to make sure that, like, these are made by people and NPCs alike, and that the actual demand is real, and it's fun to ship to people when they actually need the shit. Like, you got a whole bunch of weapons that people need for a war. They are created by myself. Futz got a contract. He's going to ship it. I'm like, here you go. We're going to load it up. We're going to load up all these weapons for an actual existing organization that's going to use them to destroy another organization. And then, you know, like, Futz is like, bam, I'm in this shit. I'm going to ship this shit right now. You know, like, that's much cooler to somebody that's into that type of gameplay. Am I right or am I right? Right, Futz? Right.
It's in no way of simply space trucking. You gotta be a trader. The only cargo-focused missions we have are box deliveries. Small single-task objectives of picking up a box and taking it somewhere else. This is great for learning locations and how to fly, but they don't earn good money. They aren't narratively satisfying, and oftentimes they're just broken. This is mainly the way it's been since 3.0 back in 2017. For those of you who watch this channel regularly, maybe you should start a counter of how many times I've said that this year. Because just like all those other features have shown, this system is being replaced. First, the Interstellar Transport Guild will be added as the overseeing authority on cargo hauling and courier work in civilized space. This guild will be visible all throughout human space as the game expands. In the Stanton system specifically, we'll also see the full realization of several of the Stanton system main local and large hauling companies. Some we already know, but only as a location name or a sender of a contract. One of the biggest changes to hauling in 3.23 and in the game over the last year is the renewed focus on reputation in Star Citizen. Factions will now react to you based on your long-term reputation with them, but also all these shipping companies will track your reputation and relationship with them. Of course, this may unlock new trade routes, higher paying missions, and better rewards for you. You'll see exclusive clothing items, hangar and apartment decorations, ship skins, and access to more items in shops as well as discounts. Note, these will be rewards that can only be earned in-game, but this cargo hauling progression through reputation also formally introduces something that's only been toyed with in Star Citizen so far: hazardous materials. The cold and hot weather in the game can affect your player, and a few unique cargo types have been added throughout the years. But now,
I love the comments from fans here. Like, I love Futz saying, but could we eventually start our own hauling companies, right? Because what Futz's question is asking is like, yeah, we can create the organizations to do all this NPC point A to point B shit, right? And, you know, the way we know Quanta and Quantum's going to work eventually is that it will feed into the grid, into the supply and demand grid, and the NPC should actually give us that simulated supply and demand that we need. But like, in terms of Futz's question, when he says, but could we eventually start our own hauling companies? What Futz means is like, he wants like a DG to actually manufacture goods, a real person that is going to sell the contract over to him to ship these goods to another organization. And he wants to go fly in a hot zone to another organization to drop off these goods as an organization with other truckers, with other people that go into these hot zones, right? Hiring perhaps his own security crew, going to another human organization where they need those weapons, where those weapons are used against another human organization. That's what Futz is asking when he asks that question. It's not just PvE related. It's just not like NPC related. And then Ash, also Supermod Ash, saying having NPCs react to anything at all would be true progress. He's right. Like having them react at all, giving you that sense of immersion where you feel like, oh, this will do. This will give me that simulated experience that I just talked about, the Futz scenario, right? Where's that at, right? Right, Ash? Right.
Companies will start to require a more specialized understanding of cargo and how it's transported. This means more quantum travel restricted deliveries, more time-sensitive deliveries, cargo that's fragile or degrades in atmospheric or pressurized conditions. Some cargo may be temperature sensitive and need to be powered. Radioactivity is a new property being introduced sometime after 323 as well.
I love you, Starlight.
As we've seen over the last year, large cargo is also a thing, which means you may need specialized equipment to move it. There will be a higher diversity in value versus size, making smaller ships more useful for certain jobs. And of course, some cargo changes legal status across borders, which you may need to be wary of. All of this is part of the ongoing overhaul to the Star Citizen cargo mission system, the formal, more prepared, and less economically demanding way to play. But there is much more to this overhaul than just the missions. Essentially, anytime you aren't in a mission, you're playing in what many may call the sandbox. With no objectives, you're free to do what you want, move where you want, and act how you want. The new cargo updates manifest themselves in this system in two ways: freight elevators and item kiosks. These two locations are now your physical access to anything you own. Any weapon, armor piece, ammo magazine, component, etc. will either be retrieved from an item bank conveniently placed somewhere in the city, or your own hangar at the spaceporter landing pad.
Persistent hangar.
Just like with the looting screen, this change is pulling players from the legacy inventory screen more and more, until eventually it may not be needed at all. And eventually, any item, as long as it is physicalized, will snap to all cargo grids for easy transportation as well, since with no magical inventory, players will need a way to safely and securely transport loose items. And this isn't just on ships and in cities. The freight elevators will also show up at outposts and other locations with shipping needs. And on ships, there will be no more universal inventory that you access as soon as you board. You'll now need to actually find a storage area to deposit items. Overall, this change means you'll be walking to a nearby physical location to do stuff a lot more, rather than just taking a step into a new room to access your collection. Unfortunately, there are a couple of caveats regarding these new features. Only your main home hangar is going to be persistent for now, and account-bound item recovery will not be available during this initial 3.23 release. While vehicles can't be spawned via freight elevators yet, you can spawn them in your ship hangars now and then move them into your ships. And for the first time, you'll now have an actual home at your home city where you can invite friends, store goods, and customize your various loadouts and supplies.
This is gonna keep asses in seats. This is gonna be the player retention. This is gonna be the moment where you're going to have a lot more playtime because people are going to be able to accrue value. So what they're doing, like this, I think is a very important feature that does not get discussed a lot. This is why people will continue to play this game, primarily, as they accrue more and more material things. Whether you're a trader, or PvP, or PvE, or whatever your jam is, you will be able to come back, and everything that you have collected on your playtime will be associated with your own hangar, and you'll be like, wow. And then you'll come back into play again because you'll be like, okay, let me amass more of my fortunes. This is a huge part of how you keep asses in seats.
These new hangars will also spawn your ship in on an elevator to make more sense of the ship retrieval process. These persistent hangars and freight elevators are the beginning of true logistics gameplay in Star Citizen, a place you'll eventually stockpile minerals based on whether or not you need them right now or want to wait till the market improves. A place where you can change the components out of all your ships and figure out what the best combination is, without having to get into a UI menu.
Everything I pictured when we first got our hangars many moons ago, everything I pictured when I was walking around all the hangars that I own, and was like, wow, I cannot wait. You remember that little that trade station with your little PC monitors hooked up to your Revel and York hangar? You know, I just chill out in there imagining like, okay, this thing's going to be stocked to the gills with everything, all the value that my organization accrues, and it's going to be awesome. And that was the vibe. And that's the vibe that this is bringing, you know, and it's a good one. It's a good one.
And figure out what the best combination is without having to get into a UI menu. These changes have been a long time coming, and it's taken many new parts to arrive. The tractor beam from 3.12, specialized cargo from 3.13, the very first personal inventory in 3.7, and more recently physical boxes, cargo grids, and inventory containers of the last year. They're arguably the biggest gameplay-related changes in the Alpha 3.23 branch, and probably the biggest gameplay shift we've seen in the game as a whole. Let's look at how these changes will affect the gameplay of everybody else in Star Citizen.
That's awesome.
Every aspect of Star Citizen involves cargo or some type of item interaction involved in the overall system. This much is clear. Whether you're looting something in a battle and need to get it somewhere to sell, or you're mining in a cave and want to refine those minerals. Building a base, fighting a battle, racing in a rally, exploring the frontier, or even just testing some new equipment you just got. Wherever you go and whatever you do, you're likely going to have to carry something along with you. So what does the system look like for the casual player? The biggest place most players will be affected is in our own personal inventories. Players will need to get very comfortable going to actual physical entry points to divest themselves of loot and other things they've collected. No more grabbing something from the city while floating overhead, or exchanging items with your city inventory from inside your ship hangar. No more selling cargo straight from your ship as soon as you land, or spawning something from the station inventory because you forgot it. In fact, with more crucial items like components, fuses, fire extinguishers, weapons, and even medical supplies to consider, where you store your items on ships will be much more important for the larger vessels. This is a change that won't affect most normal players near as much as dedicated movers, but it is going to drastically switch up how you go about the little things. Then there's the economic impact. The overarching effect this has on the game's economy is slow but major. At no point in Star Citizen's history have prices for goods made sense, and without crafting, base building, or any other major resource sinks, there hasn't been much reason to trade besides money. Cargo hauling is the backbone of the Star Citizen universe. It's the beating heart that drives everything. From material flow, to the common points in the game, to the probabilities that determine whether you run into pirates or security. It's all driven by commerce. In anticipation of this major update, the economy team was broken out from the systemic services and tools team last year, and for the last year has started to analyze and balance the baseline prices of all goods in the game. This has been ongoing for ships, their parts, weapons, commodities, components, mission payouts, salvage spawn rates, and ammo cost. Realistic and instigative pricing on these items will allow the game to provide better cargo hauling missions, but it also means regular players can benefit from more strategic looting and selling, especially when Pyro comes online. For the first time ever, players have a home in Star Citizen, a permanent private location where you can store your goods, invite your friends, and manage your cargo. For the first time ever, Star Citizen is tightening its economic, reputational, and functional aspects to support what is essentially the backbone of the whole game: proper cargo hauling.
They're getting all the peripheral shit done. That really, it is. It's all the peripheral shit. It's not the core. It's not the core tech. The core tech's going to be relying upon mesh, and you know, it's going to take a while. Like Aether was saying, you know, the foundation of it can't be built until the actual mesh is put into place. Get the levels where you get the communication that you need, so that all your amounts, all your quantities, everything ties into being able to buy and sell. You know, like Pyro, multiple systems will start coming online. They're going to be treated as separate according to what I've heard from developers. So there won't need to be, I don't think, communications in between systems. However, in the systems there will need to be that, and we're going to have to wait. And it's just sad though that there seems to be no level of communication from Tony Z. Like Starlet said earlier, and you know, it is kind of kind of a joke and kind of not. But Starlight said, honestly, you got to wonder if Tony Z has moved on. It's been so long since we heard from him. And, maybe something happened. I'm not going to be the speculating kind of dude, but like, it does seem like, hey, what the hell's going on? Like, let's get in and let's have a good talk about this. I like these talks. I like to listen to them. A lot of people, it makes people go to sleep, to me, this is exciting. Like, these chats are exciting.
Unfortunately, this will all be happening at a later date than we expected. Likely in 3.23.2 or 0.3, sometime after Invictus Week and Alien Week in June. When that finally does happen though, we'll be testing the initial feature releases in this system and learning more about how this gameplay will progress going forward.
Yeah, it could in fact still need other systems to communicate with, fathers, in terms of like having a mission that starts in Pyro and that ends in Stanton. I'm not quite sure what level of communications coding will involve in terms of like asset quantities going from one system to the other, because everything's going to have a physical, tangible quantity set to it, like that. And even if you're not seeing it, it's in the code that the quantity is there. So like it's not going to make fake quantities, right? It's going to put NPC manufacturing nodes to ramp up to meet actual supply based upon various conditions. We saw that many moons ago with Quantum and the whole system that they brought up back in, what was that? What year was that? What CitizenCon was that? 2019, 20-ish? I don't know, but it was a long time ago when they talked about that. It was like at least 3 CitizenCons or 4. 2018? Was it 2018? Wow, man. So something as important as this needs to really be put in the forefront. And I'm not quite sure what this whole, it's very nebulous. It's very kind of quiet and nebulous. Like, let's just like figure out what in the hell's going on and at least be more presentative, talk about this stuff out in the open. It seems like everything behind closed doors. Let's just get it out there. Let's just talk about it, Cloud Imperium. let's just seriously talk about this, because it's such an important gameplay feature. It's the most important, if you ask me. To have a thriving, dynamic economy is like one of the most important things in an MMO ever.
And as always, I'll be here in these videos, in my much more detailed live deep dives on this channel, and over on the second channel chatting in our podcast about how this is all going and what's coming next. I hope you'll join me in one.
Is that what Loud Guns looks like? It's so cool to see it, man. Loud Guns is a supporter of the channel. That's cool. That's cool.
Chatting in our podcast about how this is all going and what's coming next. I hope you'll join me in one of these spots or over on our new gameplay channel where I just uploaded a recent play session with Morphologists. Whatever you decide to do, thank you for watching this video. I hope you learned something new in this one, and I'll catch you in the next.
All right. There we go. Friend of the channel, Tomato, bringing about a good subject. And, a lot of people, hey, a lot of people upset. This isn't the first time it's going to happen, or this isn't the first time, and it won't be the last time something like this will happen. Things continually get pushed back. I just wish that they're a little bit more upfront about what's going on with the economy, period. So very interesting.